Welcome to Scorched Earth and the general reading for the sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of February. I hope you're well. Using the, what am I using here? The Night Sun Tarot for you today. Do I have anything to tell you? No, not really. Mercury is in retrograde, as it will be 4 times this year, and there's lots of other cosmological happenings going on. And none of them I'm boned up on enough to tell you how it affects you specifically, but so maybe it's worth a look if you're interested. So let's crack on. Can I have 3 cards called Virgo, please? So we have the 2 of Wands in your recent past. We have the Empress, which is the card of Taurus in the major arcana in your present energy, and we have the 4 of Wands in for what's coming towards you in February. We also have at the bottom of the deck here the Ace of Pentacles and the Virgo. We have the Ace of Pentacles, we have the Magician, we have the Ace of Cups, and we have the Hermit, which is obviously the Virgo card there. Shut the fucking window. Which dovetails in very neatly with the way that I understand the 4 of Wands. So let me get some clarifiers and we'll put some meat on these bones here, but this looks very, very good. Alright, so tell me about the 2 of Wands, please. We have the Lover's card and we have the Ace of Swords. Intriguing. Tell me about the Empress card, please. Thank you. We have the 10 of Cups in the upright and the 4 of Cups in the reverse. And tell me about this 4 of Wands. Tell me about this 4 of Wands, please. Sorry, the cards are a bit cold and my hands are a bit cold. It's not quite a good combination. Tell me about the 4 of Wands, please. We've got the 5 of Cups, but we've got it with the 8 of Cups, which is beautiful. And we have the Justice card, the card of Libra at the bottom of the deck there. Look at those 2 cards. So what do we have under it? The Magician, again, is underneath here. And the 8 of Pentacles and the 6 of Wands. There's a sense of alignment coming here, Virgo, which is something that we've talked about with you quite a lot, actually, over the last... It is coming up the last year now, actually. I think it was about maybe it's February or March time where things started to shift for you, and the whole of 2021 was about that shift. And it's not to say that it hasn't been challenging, because it absolutely has at points. Nevertheless, I think 2021 was about the return of hope to the Virgo experience, I think. So the first thing that strikes me is that in 2 of your 3 cards here, it's very wand orientated. We've got this 2 of Wands and we've got this 4 of Wands, and in the middle we've got the Empress, which is numbered 3. So there is a progression here, although it rather seems to do this. Well, say that actually. The 2 of Wands in your recent past this is a crossroads energy, right? It's often given to indicate a decision that needs to be made. And it's one that comes directly from you, right? It's rather than the universe kind of plonking opportunities in your lap and saying, right now, pick between them. This is a sort of arriving at this crossroads yourself and being like, I am now here. I need to decide which way I am going to go, right? And so the received wisdom of this card is that you think through the consequences of whichever decision that you make, or, and by decision, I don't mean like, well, I'm going to go to the shops today, or am I going to be good and save my money, right? It's not that kind of energy. It feels more mindset for you, possibly. Although it may well have its expression in something that is in front of you, right? Do I want to do this, or do I want to do something else? Now, what I really liked for you was the fact that we had the Lover's card come out straight away to clarify it. Let's put it under there, because that's probably a better representation, right? And this to me says, you are making little decisions that are having huge consequences, because this is a decision as well, but this is... It's a card of conscious co-creation, right? So it's the act of stepping up and making that decision in some way or another, right? But it's major arcana and it's sitting underneath here, right? So you're making these little decisions and you're like quite happy with the way these little decisions are going, but there's something far bigger underneath that is happening. There's a connection to the fabric of existence which is in some way changed by your willingness to make decisions at this point, because the other card was the Ace of Swords. Now, it's one of 3 aces that appears for you here, Virgo. The Ace of Swords often is just the truth, right? This is the truth of the situation. So then it becomes your ability to connect with that truth. It becomes clarity, you know, perhaps new ideas, you know, things like that. Excuse me. But because it is so very closely related to the mind and to communication and to expression, whether that's the way that you think or the way that you speak, I have to see the swords, the Ace of Swords particularly, as that way in which one sees the world as it really is, you know, kind of circling back to truth here now, because it's all revolving around the brain, and your brain is your conscious tool. It's what you use to navigate the world, right? And when you've got an ace appearing, you've got the full potentiality of that suit just suddenly springing into existence in front of you. It speaks to me of a change in the way that your 3D processing machine is actually processing what is in front of you here. Now, this is quite a big thing because our minds use heuristics quite a lot, right? You use these mental shortcuts, and they reckon it's one of the reasons why time seems to go faster as you age, because your brain takes more mental shortcuts, because obviously there's so much packed into it, and a lot of that is your previous experience. So rather than having to come at every situation anew and afresh, which is quite energetically expensive for a brain, it goes, oh, I recognize these things about this situation, therefore it must be like this thing in the past that happened to me, and you know, we will respond accordingly. But there's a lot of re-energy about this, and not in the kind of like, I don't know, in the meme sense of just like reeing about something, but a re-energizing, a re-engagement with, a renewal of, you know, a reassessment almost of your situation. And I feel for you that you've been in a state of contemplation, as I'm feeling here. It feels quite contemplative, looking at where you are. Maybe you're matching it up against where you were this time last year, as you came into 2021. You know, and going, well, fucking hell, look what I've managed to achieve in this time. Look how different I feel in this time. And these little decisions that you're making, it feels like a series of tiny little crossroads, right? Whether they're right in front of you or whether they're in here. There's a consciousness about everything. It almost feels like you've kind of kicked some of those heuristics into the bin. And now it's like, no, I will engage with this as a new thing. I'm going to kind of not disregard entirely everything that's happened before, but certainly put it on a lower pegging to make sure that I am dealing with exactly what is in front of me here, rather than what I think it is. Which I like very much. Tell me about the Seals and the Ace of Swords, please. 6 of Wands. And we've got the Knight of Swords, which is all about the transmission of information. So it could be that you find yourself kind of, I don't know, maybe you're kind of wriggling out of the cave a little bit and just seeing who's around and seeing who there is to engage with. But there's the sense of this communication happening. Now, can I get this communication? Yeah, Queen of Swords. It's all very conscious. But nothing that I'm seeing here is indicating overthinking, which is something that Virgos have a predisposition towards. It is clarity here. We're going from an ace to a knight to a queen. Now, I think that if you were fully aware of the magnitude of the decisions that you were making right here and now, we might possibly be more likely to have a King of Swords here, because he would see the entire, you know, broad spectrum of existence and your place within it much more clearly. But there's a lot of sifting, there's a lot of information gathering here, and there's a lot of information being transmitted. What I was asking was if that information was being transmitted to you perhaps by spirit or something like that, you know, something like this. in the form of spiritual downloads or some such thing. And yeah, I mean, we've got the Eight of Wands there, a card that I often talk about, you know, meaning an increase in momentum or something like that. But this is specifically speaking to communication, and it's incoming. Right? We've got that woman holding the letter there, and everything about the card is it just landing, you know, even in her mind. The information that is being transmitted in whatever that piece of paper says is landing in her mind right now. And we've got the Ace of Pentacles again, and the Empress again. And your card there of the Knight of Pentacles. It feels like things are starting to open up to you. Right? And there are opportunities here that are in the offing, and whether or not you have a sense of them yet, and perhaps you don't, they're certainly on their way. And possibly, you know, with this mindset adjustment that's going on in these tiny little ways that you are adjusting your mindset, what you're actually doing is preparing the ground for what is coming into you next, because that is the Empress. There she is again, right? Segues beautifully into this. And this is the card of Taurus, but it's a card of absolute abundance and gratitude. And often, as we see here in this Empress card, the Empress is depicted as pregnant because she is literally in a state of gestation of something new that is about to be birthed into the world, right? It's a highly creative card. It's because it's Taurus energy, but so is the Hierophant. And the Hierophant is quite rigid, and it's quite inflexible, and it is quite traditional. It is everything that has been done, you know, and continues to be done because it's always been done that way. The Empress brings much more of a sense of chaos in, but in a good way, right? In a state of you know, femininity, right? Feminine being chaos, and, you know, masculine being order. It's more like the energy of the way that nature reclaims an old building, you know, that's been abandoned and derelict, and people go, oh, it's very sad, look at it, it's all falling down. And then you come back a few years later and the plants have all grown through it, and it's like the earth is taking it back to itself, like it's breaking it down. It is an act of destruction, but there's an act of creation going on at the same time. And it's clarified by the Ten of Cups and the Four of Cups. Now, the Ten of Cups is emotional fulfillment for more than just you. You know, we have a picture here of a family, and they're celebrating this rainbow that's in front of them, and there's that sense of hope springing, you know, positive things springing from, you know, what has been less than positive before, because a rainbow does not appear unless it's been raining first. You know, it's at that point where, you know, there's still a lot of water in the air, and then the sun comes up and it kind of makes this beautiful rainbow. I don't know much about the physics of it, right? But that's the basics thing. So it's a card of gratitude, though, and that's interesting because that's the three things that are common across all three of these cards. It is the thing that is common across these three cards here. You know, there's been a storm, there's been something, there's been a lot of water in the air, you know, and then here comes the rainbow. Here is that symbol of hope, and it's not just for you. It's for more than you, right? So it could be your family, it could be your group of friends. It's certainly a collective feel. And then we have this Four of Cups in reverse, which is specifically gratitude for me, right? This is rejection and feeling rejected and all that kind of thing. This is gratitude and feeling embraced by, you know, the bosom of the collective, as it is here. Now, I noticed that I've got the Justice card at the bottom of the deck here, and I didn't even notice that. So there are certain themes that are repeating here, you know, with the Magician and whatnot underneath there. I'm really sorry about the noise if you can hear it. I can't do anything about it. People are digging shit up over there. Hey. But the Justice card talks about a return to balance, right? It's a very, very strong card of balance, but it's also a card of karma and consequences. Now remember that I see that as a very neutral thing, because the consequences of your actions are simply the consequences of your actions. And it's down to you whether you see those as a positive or a negative thing. But it's interesting that it's come up twice. And we've been talking about this, how these little adjustments that you're making, you seem to be relatively oblivious to the larger picture that is being constructed off the back of these things that you are putting in place now. The Empress card seems to be the point where it starts to ping up, right? It starts to be that thing that that point where you realize what it is that you have been creating, not just for you, but for other people too. Tell me about this. We'll see, we've got more major arcana here. We've got the moon that has come out sideways, and we also have the hanged man that has come out sideways, which is really interesting. These cards of Cancer and Pisces respectively for me. The moon talks about things that are hidden, right? When it's in the upright, that's what it's talking about, those things that are hidden. When it comes out in the reverse, it talks about those things being revealed, and it came out sideways for you. It's in that point of transition between the two. Again, think about what we've been talking about how your actions, right, are going to start kind of, the consequences of them are going to start to be revealed to you very, very soon. And then we have the hanged man. Now, this way around, this is a very static energy. It's a very passive energy. It talks about no movement whatsoever. This is the point where we say, okay, you've learned what you needed to learn, and now it's time to move. This here, again, a state of transition between the two things. And it all feels like a dawning realization. I have the Six of Cups. I don't usually pull so many extra cards, but actually I feel like this is worth delving into because there's so much here. We've got the Six of Cups and we've got the Ten of Cups as well. Now, it could be that there are children involved in this in some way, right? Your children or other children. But ultimately, the Six of Cups is a card of the past, right? Your past, but any kind of past, recent past, distant past, but even past lives. It can have quite a nostalgic view, that kind of sepia-toned hue that the past seems to take on for us, that, sepia photographs seem to replicate so well. But as I'm looking at it here, Virgo, it does seem like a big narrative shift, because I'm looking at this Four of Cups here, and I'm looking at the Six of Cups, and in both of those there is something being proffered, right? Now here we've got this funny sky hand proffering it, and we've got a rejection, we've got a resistance to it. I don't want that. It's nothing to do with me. Like, take it away. I'm here sulking, right? It feels like a bit of a sulk. It's interesting, actually. He looks quite a bit like my ex-husband. He was quite sulky. Anyway, here we've got something being proffered and we have something being received, right? And I actually feel like what you have done is you have reframed your past. Now, this is important because when you reframe your past, you reframe your present, and you reframe your expectations about what comes in the future, because this card came in the reverse for you, right? Here it is, where you were not able, for whatever reason, to receive this. And this could have been help, help for, what you have experienced over the last couple of years. And it wasn't that you were rejecting the person, it's just that you were completely incapable of accepting that help. Now it's here, right? Now that's just one example of the way that this might play out. But it all does seem to be very much revolving around this idea of allowing yourself to receive something, and for the benefit of more than just you. Perhaps it is that you're allowing yourself to go back into the bubble of family or friends, or maybe you're making new ones, who knows. The important thing is that whatever you have been shifting and changing, it's going to be revealed to you, it seems to me, in February, if you're not already getting a kind of inclination about it now, of how much has changed, how much wisdom you've got, how wise you have become. Because this is the thing, right? So you can do all of this work on yourself, and yes, I am very wise and all these kind of things. But it's not until you get back out into the world and you start mixing with people again, and I feel like you're ready to do that, you have solid cast iron examples of where you behave differently to how you behaved before, because otherwise it's just quite an intellectual exercise to assume that you would do it this way, and it's quite a different thing to have it in front of you and go, all right, okay, well, I'm not going to overthink the shit out of that, or I'm not going to lose my temper about that, or I'm not going to do this, that, and the other. I'm going to let the small things go because they're not important. And it all feels like it's about this reframing. Now, when I said that at the beginning that the Pentacles cards and, well, the Aces actually and the Magician seem to dovetail very nicely into my understanding of the Four of Wands. I'm going to get into that a little bit in a second, but this for me is a card of home. Okay? Not your four walls necessarily, although they can absolutely form part of the picture. More it is home as in where the heart is. Now remember that we've had the Ten of Cups come up twice here, right? So there is a collective around you of some sort, or at least a collective skirting around the periphery. But it's also about the creation of a new foundation. This is putting down now a foundation that supports where you are rather than where you were before. It's a card of celebration and joy, which is beautiful to see. But let's come back to these Aces that we had underneath here, right? We had the Magician sitting flanked by the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Pentacles, and then we also had the Magician here flanked by Justice and the Eight of Pentacles. Now your Virgo card of the Hermit was just there, and I feel like that's more a kind of a nod to your energy than anything else. And we had the Six of Wands underneath there, and we're talking about success, public success, right? So it's not just something that you experience internally and kind of mentally pat yourself on the back for. This is other people appreciating, what has happened, what has transpired with you. But we've got this Magician card here twice now. The way that I read the Magician is actually, I associate it with Gemini more than Virgo, because it is that whole abracadabra, right? I create as I speak, and there's nothing that says Magician more to me than I create as I speak. But it does also have an association with Virgo. But whether or not you take the astrological correspondence as important, actually I'm holding these the wrong way around, right? The Justice card was at the top, so this Magician is sandwiched on both sides. The Magician says you have all the tools that you need to create whatever it is that you want to create, right? And let's remember that the undertow of that Lover's card being there for you, right? So it's like, what do you want to create? Well, you want to create the new things. Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Cups. This is possibly new relationships with new people, but it could be a renewal of those things too. It could be going back to people that you care about, people that you love, now that you are in a state to be able to do so. But it could be also talking about the state of how you see yourself, I don't think one of the things that is very difficult to come to terms with after major losses and major, emotional shifts, as you have experienced over time, is looking for the fucking lesson, looking for the sense. Humans are kind of almost primed to find meaning in things. And when things happen and there seems to be no meaning and there seems to be, nothing that has come of it that is good, it can take a very long time. And let's not forget, that considerable moral effort that I was talking about in the shadow videos there, to find that, to embrace the situation and as is, the consequence of the situation as is, and allow yourself to sow something new into the soil that is there, right? So the Magician says you have all the tools that you need. It also says you're bound by nothing but the limits of your own imagination, right? It's a card of manifestation, just as the Lover's card is there. You are manifesting something new, new foundations. But here, Might some of you be starting to find a sense of purpose, right? Not just meaning, but purpose in what you have experienced. Or maybe you're trying to pull this towards you now, right? The Eight of Pentacles is about working hard for something, right? Achieving mastery at something. And you have got a master's degree in having suffered now, Virgo. But where do you use it? I want to say for what is right, but it seems a little bit trite, you know. How can you use it moving forwards to help? Because it's being of service is something that is quite deeply rooted in Virgos. But it takes a while to be able to access that cleanly, because of the things like the overthinking and stuff like that happens on the top. But it also means that, you know, at times before you are, you know, big and strong and solid enough to be able to, you know, weather all the storms that come in, see the meaning, see the purpose. It also means that you're kind of open to being taken advantage of at times. There's a rectification of that here, because there is this huge card of balance and consequences coming in. But there is this really simple sense of being of service that is coming through here. You know, and you are the agent of this. And we're looking at the Magician's red robe there. And it's, as the cards are sitting here, we've got the red tights on the chap, moving to the red robe on the Magician, moving to this, you know, huge red gown here on this. It's like there's a process here. There's been a progression and evolution as you have made sense and worked on what has happened to you, and that's how you've come back into a state of alignment with yourself and realized that actually you are a powerful person despite what has occurred with you. There's a sense here of you being able to bring some sort of bigger balance into play. Now, I said that the two cards that were clarifying the Four of Wands with this Five of Cups and the Eight of Cups. February is a month that sees you truly walking away from what you have been stuck in, right? And like I said, that whole 2021 was a period of kind of pulling away from it, extricating yourself from it. But it was a long and slow process. It is a card of grieving. It is a card of loss there, and that can happen in all sorts of ways. And I know a lot of Virgos, 2020, 2021. Either lost people through actual, you know, bereavement, or through divorce and things like that. You know, there was a big separation going on here. But it seems that you're finally properly finding your feet, because don't forget, like, grieving is a process. It is a process, and you start at one point, and hopefully you go through it, and then you come out the other side, and you are changed. Without question, you are changed. But it is possible to start, well, to be stuck here, stuck in a pure Five of Cups energy and not ever move. And we all know, we've all come across people, you know, they've lost someone and they're never the same. They're just a shell of a person. That's them being stuck there. But you can get stuck at various other parts of the process too. And without the conscious willingness to sit with it for as long as it fucking takes before you can break through and you move to the next part of that, you know? It's just like the same way that I see beginnings and endings, right? It's not a solid thing, like this side ending, this side beginning. Well, it's a graduated process, so something fades out and then something fades in. You know, even if there is a major loss here, and that feels like the ending, actually you've got a whole process to go through where you reconcile that with yourself and where you accept that self before you're anywhere near ready to start something new. Does that make sense? So, tell me about this Five of Cups. Good Lord. Well, I couldn't have asked for a stronger set of cards to literally just reiterate exactly what it is that I've just said than this. We've got the Five of Cups again, we have the Six of Swords, and we have the World card. Now the World is important because the Eight of Cups and the Six of Swords, they're all about kind of moving away from things. But as we know, it is possible to take things with us when we go, even if we are not physically engaging with these things anymore, right? The World card says it's drawing to a close. And in order to get the aces to operate at their fullest potential, you need to have a full, complete cycle done and finished, right? And that's what it is. And the cycle being full and finished is you moving away, you know, completing the process of the Five of Cups, as indicated by the Five of Cups. We have, like I said, that World card there. But there's the Magician again for you. You've had a whole heap of repeating cards here, Virgo, and it's almost like the cards are saying, said what I fucking said. Right? Did I fucking stutter? This is the thing here. It's a tremendously powerful energy that you're in, because not least because it does feel like you're somewhat further down the process than you think you are already. I think that you feel like there's much more in front of you to do. But what the cards are saying to me here is this is a case of your mind catching up with where you already are, because you are already in a state of, you know, the Lovers, of the Empress, and of the Aces. They've already appeared. You've been manifesting them, right? And so whilst they might not be obvious to you yet, they're coming. And at the point where they arrive, this is the point where you have to accept, actually, that you have been a lot further down this process than you thought you were, and that things are, if not fully healed, certainly a long way down the process. And you are different. Right? You've assimilated all of these changes, and now it's time to move. Now it's time to start getting ready to channel your Magician and bring all these aces up. Right? Now, the only ace that's missing is the Ace of Wands, and that's quite interesting because that does talk about the vim and the drive and the passion and all that sort of thing. And it might be that actually you're not feeling particularly passionate about it, but there's a willingness to see what happens. You know? Very interesting. Right, so I'm going to leave it here. If you're interested in exploring this a little bit deeper, I am going to go over to Vimeo now, and we're going to pull this apart a little bit more. We're going to look very much at this ending, and it does feel like the completion and the closure is something that you're kind of catching up to, mentally catching up to, rather than it just suddenly happening at you. And we'll look at February in a bit more depth. So if you would like to join me over there, I would love to see you. If not, no shade, not a problem. I will see you next time for the mid-months. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.